don't really think we have late night humorous TV in Canada. I mean, there's been some attempts over the years. The closest thing we have to a Saturday Night Live is This Hour's 22 Minutes. It's not as funny, it's pretty political, and it doesn't have a big audience. But American mainstream TV does have late night shows. They're not as culturally significant as they were, let's say, in the 70s and 80s. And a lot of that is because anyone with a YouTube channel can get millions or tens of millions of views. And the regime comedians, they really are, really can't compete, but they still have big audiences just by default or by inertia. And I don't know, I think it's more accurate to look at these late night comedy shows as product placement shows rather than actual arts or entertainment or comedy. I mean, remember Stephen Colbert, who actually is in the old Ed Sullivan Theater in Manhattan? Remember what he did during the pandemic? This was a sketch or a bit or a scene? No, it wasn't. It was an ad by Pfizer. Remember this? I mean, cringeworthy, but if you're getting paid $1 million to do it, why not? So gross. Like I say, it's not really a show. There's no artistic freedom to it. It is all scripted by advertisers. I suppose everything in mainstream media is that way, but this show pretends to be genuine, authentic, and funny, and it's not. It's product placement with a laugh track is what it is. Why would you go? What boggles me is, you can watch it when you're bored in the evening, I guess, if you just want to see a celebrity talking about their latest project. But the idea that people line up and go in person in New York City when you could do any of a million other things is incredible to me. Obviously, the ads for sale, their skits and sketches that are for sale to anyone with cash, and that meant Pfizer, but also to political parties too. We've learned that the vast majority of celebrity endorsers for Kamala Harris were paid huge amounts of money to do so. And they have done so, and they've been atrocious. And watching them last night, though, after Trump won, I wouldn't say it was satisfying, because it's still gross to see them. It's still gross to see them try and control the psychology and political outlook of their audience. I mean, look at this guy, Jimmy Kimmel, who actually I think is a full-on member of the Kamala Harris campaign team. I mean, he's not even pretending to be independent. He's as partisan, certainly, as Elon Musk is. Take a look at this from last night.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
Hang on. Was that a tear? Was he crying or was he crying for NATO? By the way, Donald Trump is the biggest supporter of NATO. The reason he says to Europe, pay more money or we're going to get out of here, is he thinks the threat will get them to pay more money. He has strengthened NATO. But imagine crying, shedding. I think he shed a tear there. He wanted us to think he was. Oh, and the things he says are going to be lost under the Republicans' democracy and decency. Yeah, Hunter Biden, that's definitely decent. Doug Emhoff literally punching his girlfriend's decency. But free speech, you're telling me free speech is stronger under Democrats? Journalism? Yeah, like I say, they really are more cult members than campaigners. Stephen Colbert, in many ways, is worse. And he had the same sort of tearful open to his show yesterday. He's not doing great, guys, as if Republican presidents aren't catnip for these guys. They never mock or parody Democrats. They're never actually rough and tumble with Democrats. The way they treat Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, just in fact, her last-ditch campaign ad was so obviously an attempt to normalize and humanize her. There's got to be something deep in the bones of the joke writers at these shows that actually want to do satire again and are excited to have such a exciting person to work with as Donald Trump. I mean, love him or hate him, Donald Trump is a great person to talk about and joke about, as opposed to an empty blatherskite who just says word salad like Kamala Harris. And here's another clip.
Hey there. How are you doing? If you watch the show regularly, I'm guessing you're not doing great. Yeah, me neither. You know, today, some people said to me, sorry you have to do a show tonight, which is nice of them to say, but I don't have to do a show. I get to do a show tonight. I'm so grateful to be with all of these talented people, those people over here, those people that you'll never see, with the audience and the Ed Sullivan, with you people at home, because especially at times like this, what do we most want to be? Not alone. So thanks for being here. We're going to do a comedy show. It's a comedy show. We're going to do some jokes in just a minute, because that's what we do. And I'll let you in on a little secret. No one gets into this business because everything in their life worked out great. So we're built for rough roads. You guys ready? We cool? Okay. We're going to start the show now. And correct me if I'm wrong, Louis. We usually start with a cold open.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Do we have one?
Yeah.
We do? Great. Jim?
America's allies and its enemies bracing for a second Trump presidency.
It's an election millions around the world were invested in, even though they didn't have a vote.
NATO will be greatly diminished. I think our European allies will be very, very nervous.
I think leaders are bracing for what another Trump term could mean.
And now the world reacts to America's decision.
I'll be in my bedroom, making no noise and pretending that I don't exist.
Got it. So the moral condemnation of America is best made by foreigners. So why do foreigners have moral authority over actual American voters? That's really weird, but that is sort of an elitist thing, isn't it? Oh, you hick Americans, you better vote the right way. Otherwise, what will they say about us in Finland? Hey, let me just show another clip of something like that, because actually the Finnish parliament and I think the Danish parliament, they had this video of female legislators just sort of crossing their arms and looking very stern. Take a look at this just for 1 second.
Out on a terrace. I don't know if it's fair, but I thought, how could I let you fall by yourself? Well, I'm wasted with someone else. If we go down, then we go down together.
Yeah, how is that supposed to, I mean, first of all, there's no argument there. It's just we are European socialist women and our glaring and staring should communicate enough. There's no argument there. There's no message other than shouldn't you be morally inferior to these people and do what they say. But they're also tone deaf, and that the glaring and the scolding is exactly what Kamala Harris has done for the last 3 months, and it just didn't work. It's really weird that they think you're supposed to take your moral leadership on voting in America or Canada from what people overseas say.